The Treaty of Versailles was a major peace treaty signed at the end of World War I, following Germany's defeat and surrender. It was signed at the Palace of Versailles in France in June 1919. It formally ended the state of war between Germany and the Allied powers, which consisted of the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Italy, the Empire of Japan, and the United States. The other countries that fought alongside Germany in World War I were dealt with in separate treaties. Although the armistice, or ceasefire, that had been signed on November 11, 1918, ended the actual fighting, it took 6 months of negotiations at the Paris Peace Conference to conclude the Treaty of Versailles. It included most of the proposals in U.S. President Woodrow Wilson's 14-point plan, including the formation of the League of Nations. During the peace talks, there were many arguments over who should get what. At one point, the French Prime Minister threatened to withdraw his endorsement of the League of Nations unless France got certain coal-rich areas of Germany and was given military occupation of the German Rhineland. The leader of Italy left the negotiating table when President Wilson refused to give him what he wanted. Japan threatened to withdraw unless it retained economic control over the Chinese province of Shantung. On the verge of physical collapse, Wilson gave in to many of the demands made by countries at the negotiating table. He had hoped that when the League of Nations was formed, it would fix the problems in the treaty. One of the most important and controversial conditions in the treaty forced Germany to accept sole responsibility for causing the war. In addition, they were required to disarm, to make substantial territorial concessions, to relinquish its colonies, and to pay compensation to certain countries. The total cost of compensation was huge. As a result of the competing and conflicting goals among the Allies, not to mention greed over territories they wanted to own, the Treaty of Versailles became a messy compromise that left no one happy. Germany hated the treaty, and many of the Allies weren't pleased by it. Furthermore, Germany's ability to wage war was not permanently weakened, and this became a factor that led directly to the Second World War. Because he had so many difficulties in keeping faith with the spirit of his original 14 points, Wilson bore most of the blame for the treaty's shortcomings. But many historians today contend that without the president's heroic efforts, which left him physically and mentally exhausted, the treaty would have been far more severe than it was, and even less effective. Although some of the treaty's terms were eased in the 1920s, the bitterness it created led to the growth of fascism in Italy and the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany. The treaty was later undermined by events starting as early as 1932 and was widely disregarded by Germany throughout the 30s.